The salt marsh is a complex of lots of different plants. Particularly where it's grazed, you'll see that the plants are in the creeks because they're not being grazed, whereas it's a real lot of grass on the top, plus a lot of thrift. And sometimes you'll come out here and it'll be pink all over it because the thrift is flowering. The other plant that we have that's really interesting is the sea aster, and that's in the kind of non-grazed areas that we're looking at here. And it is a lovely plant, especially at this time of year. It's great for all kinds of bees and butterflies and moths. We've just spotted some cordgrass here. So the cordgrass is one of the kind of more invasive species that was actually being planted in some areas so that it would keep the mud together. So it's brilliant at doing that. And looking close to it, we've got some bubbles forming on top of some algae here. So there's lots of processes going on. It looks a little bit like frog spawn or something similar. There's also, you can see the sheen on the water here. Yes. So people get really worried about that being oil, but it's actually the decay of vegetation, so it's a natural oil that's in there. And what I'm always surprised about is when I've just put my hand in there, how nice and warm it is. Yeah. So this scurvy grass, it's great, it's got a nice white flower. As you said, it's sometimes in the areas where it's nice and salty. And they used to take it, it's got its name, basically from the fact they used to take it on ships to alleviate scurvy because it's got lots of vitamin C in it. And I'm not going to give you a whole bit to start with. Let's try a little bit. If you chew it for a little while, it's got that kind of slightly citrusy kind of flavour to start with. And then after a little while, I'll go peppery. It's quite a surprise to many people, especially when you chew it for a little bit because they're not certain about swallowing it. We've got a little pool that's quite shallow, and what tends to happen is things like the little fish will go into that area because that'll be warmer and it helps their digestion, and then as soon as they hear or feel us coming, they'll shoot off. So very often it's like the end of a creek like this piece up here. So this is our head end. And if we looked at that carefully through a little lens, we'd actually be able to see some big jaws. So I would think that this is either a small ragworm or possibly a catworm, which is a white ragworm, is its other name, and fishermen love those ones because they're supposed to be really good for catching things. But most of what we're seeing here, it isn't legs, so it's not like a centipede, that's actually its gills. That's the other reason for it wanting to swim, so it can breathe. We're just going to go along this kind of fringe here, and we can find these underneath the mud, but if we look along the fringe, we maybe just knock a few off, and then we'll get them into here. And you can see one here now. Yes. So there are lots of little kind of things in there that we probably don't see when we've actually got the net, but once we put them into the water, we should be able to see a few swimming. Oh, here we go, we have got some little ones in here. We get all kinds of things that do get kind of washed up into this kind of area. Small creatures out of the mud, and it is just a fantastic place with lots of diversity.